All right, let's bring in our panel. Let's see a big group of faces, because that's what people like right before an election. And when you're covering an election, is to see lots of people. We got former GOP Pennsylvania Senate candidate Craig Snyder. We got former Democratic Ohio State Senator Nina Turner, and GOP strategist Paris Dennard, who served on Trump's advisory board in 2016 and 2020. It's good to have all three of you. Appreciate it, especially on this all-important night. Nina, let me start with you. You've heard Governor Ed Rendell saying the Democrats didn't play good defense. You heard Governor Blagojevich saying that the party is upset. The party is upset, but it should be upset at itself because you got to listen to the people. What are they missing?
Well, I agree with both governors. I mean, especially if the Democrats had focused a little more on policies and messaging that help the 98% to deal with the economic imbalances in this country, then the divisiveness of the GOP would not be working as well as it is. This is not about left and right. Ultimately, it comes down to who's on top and who's on the bottom. And the majority of the people in this country are suffering. We can't run away from what is happening in their real lives every single day. That should have been the focus, the economy, and how the Democrats plan to help people, everyday people in hoods where they're misunderstood, whether those hoods are urban hoods, rural hoods, or suburban hoods. People need help, and they came up with it
Right.
a little too late, as far as I'm concerned. Abortion, for example, Chris, is just one example of an economic issue, but it's not the silver bullet. And they tried to make that the silver bullet, and they erred in that.
Craig, the idea of what gets you past an election, that proving the other guy is worse, playing to fear. I get all that. Do you think it could matter in any way that the Republicans really aren't saying what they would do better or what they would do to fix? Even listening to McCarthy today, the minority leader in the House, says, yeah, if I take in power, I'm going to cut spending. Yeah, you didn't do it when you cut taxes with Trump. That administration wasn't known for cutting spending. Oh, and we're going to investigate Biden. Is that really the kind of better that you think the American people want?
No, I don't think it is, but I think, we're stuck in this duopoly where when people want to send a message to the party in power, they have no choice but to vote for the other party. And that's a shame. And the free agents, as you like to call the people who decide American elections, have been switching back and forth. We've had wave election after wave election since at least since 1994, with changing control in Congress, because people don't like either choice. They just choose the one that's not in power when they don't like what's going on, and they clearly don't like what's going on right now, particularly on economic issues.
Hey, Paris, let me help me with something. You think I'm right that the former president is not going to announce tonight because it wouldn't help the party and it really wouldn't help him?
I agree with you. I don't think former President Trump is going to announce tonight. I think he understands what is at stake, which is the focus and the attention needs to be on Republicans winning with this red wave in the midterm elections. And I think he also understands that it's going to be better for him to announce later, after the midterm election victories for Republicans, so that he can take a victory lap and say, you see, the endorsements that I made matter, the candidates that I selected won, and he can say that the America First agenda, which he governed and campaigned on, which many of these candidates campaigned on, was effective and worked. And so I think it's a better strategy for him to wait, let the midterm elections take place, let the Republicans win, and then let him take the credit.
Paris, what do you think about the idea that denying the legitimacy of the election has become such a hot ticket for so many Republican candidates, and that there's so many of them in this race? Does that concern you at all?
No, what concerns me is that the media continues to focus in on the past, and I think that what voters are looking for is the present in terms of gas, groceries, and their grandchildren. Those are the issues that matter. These kitchen table issues are the ones that I've heard Republicans talk about on a consistent basis. And I think Republicans have stayed on message, and I think that message has resonated with Republican voters and with independents, whom I think are going to break for the GOP in this midterm election for those who are undecided.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, And you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.